So today I'm actually trying out a newer card in my White Weenie deck. I call it White Attack because I feel like just calling it White Weenie is going to get confused with a lot of token strategies that go a little bit slower. This is really hyper aggressive, so I do feel like it needs its own name. So let's get into the deck. This is, like I said, hyper aggressive. It has 30 creatures and 16 lands. Most of the spells in this deck are 1 mana or free. We are using one of the new cards, Hero of the Pride. Hero of the Pride has a heroic ability where every time you target it with a spell, it gives +1/+0 to each creature you control. So we're using spells like Defiant Strike, which gives +1/+0 and draws you a card. It's instant and only 1 mana. This on Hero of the Pride alone makes it a 4/2, and it gives each other creature +1/+0. We also have Mutagenic Growth as a free way to either save one of our creatures or pump up the team and get in for damage. We have 2 Ramosian Rally. This is another free spell. It doesn't target anything, but it is +1/+1 to each of your creatures. The extra toughness is super useful, and if you do go wide, which is the goal, it can give your team +3 or +4 attack. I like to think of a lot of things in this deck as how much attack it gives, because I'm just trying to attack for as much as possible as fast as possible. We do also have 4 enchantments. We have 4 Cartouche of Solidarity. This is great because it helps us go wide, makes our creatures trade up. For 1 mana, giving a creature +1/+1, that ability, and making another dude is fantastic. So we have 14 spells in all that we can pump up our Hero of the Pride with. Now going over to the creatures, we have 4 Cavalry Drill Master. It costs 2, it's a 2/1, and it gives +2/+0 and First Strike. This doesn't trigger Hero of the Pride, but it is very useful in pushing through damage. I do like, since it's one of our slowest cards, that its ability affects the battlefield immediately. Next we have Elite Vanguard. Elite Vanguard is just a 2/1 for 1. We try to play as many 2/1s for 1 as possible. There are a few that we don't put into the deck, one being a Pegasus that has to attack with another creature. I don't like that that can't attack on turn 2, so I'd rather wait and play a 2-drop that is going to be more consistent. We have 3 Core Skyfishers. These are great for a bunch of reasons. Our land count is so low, and we have so many 1-drops that if we get stuck on 2, which happens pretty often, then this basically costs 1 mana, and then we can play another 1 mana spell by replaying that land. It also bounces our Cartouche of Solidarity, so it can trigger Hero of the Pride in a way. We're only running 3 of these. This is one of the cards that we're probably going to be looking at increasing. One of the reasons I'm only on 3 is I don't like seeing lots of these. I don't want to play them on turn 2 since I don't want to bounce anything yet. So this is a later game play. One more thing that Core Skyfisher can do is bounce Cavalry Drill Master for an extra ETB trigger. We have 3 Porcelain Legionnaire. These can attack through most things. They do double as a defensive card, but they do cost that 2 life. I don't think being an artifact really matters, but for being a 2-cost card, it still has 1 toughness. So I think that this is one of the worst cards in our deck, but it does fit the strategy well enough, and we need to do some more testing. That's one of the reasons why I'm running this league. So keep your eye on that as we play. We have 4 Savannah Lions. Again, it's a 2/1 for 1. We have Veteran Armorer. It's a 2/2 for 2 that gives all of your other creatures +0/+1. This is really the only creature in your deck that's not trying to be super aggressive. It does, however, help your creatures get in combat. There's a lot of 1-power creatures in Pauper, and there's a lot of Electrickeries. I don't want to use all my sideboard slots to fight Electrickery, but we are very susceptible to it, so these actually go in the main deck. Multiple of these means that we're going to be able to block and attack really effectively, so I do love my Veteran Armorers. Finally, we have 4 Warfalcon. So Warfalcon is a 2/1 for 1 that has flying. It can only attack if you have a soldier, but let's go back through the creatures and notice all of the soldiers. We've got Cavalry Drill Master is a soldier. Elite Vanguard, soldier. Hero of the Pride is a soldier. Core Skyfisher is a soldier. Porcelain Legionnaire is a soldier. Savannah Lions is not a soldier, but it is a 2/1 for 1, so it's great. And Veteran Armorer, again, is a soldier. So all we've got is the Savannah Lions and the Cartouche of Solidarity tokens that are not soldiers. Anyway, let's move on to the sideboard. First, we've got 2 Gut Shots. Gutshot is a Phyrexian red, so we can pay 2 life instead of the mana cost for this spell, and it does 1 damage. You do want to interact with your opponent a little bit, and they can double as a Hero of the Pride trigger, so possible Anthem and a little bit of interaction. We have 3 Hallows. Hallow is a 1-cost instant spell that says prevent all damage target spell would deal this turn. You gain life equal to the damage prevented this way. Burn is a really hard matchup, and Hallow is just a 1-cost spell that basically counters their spell and gains you life. This also doubles as a way to stop Electrickery. If you haven't played with Hallow, you would be surprised just how much life that this card can give you, and it gets even better the better their spell is. Magical Christmas Land is if, say they do Electrickery you, you gain like 5 or 6 and save your field, or if they Searing Blaze you, you gain 6 life and don't lose your creature. We have 2 Leave No Trace. Leave No Trace is a colorless and a white for an instant, and it has the ability Radiance. This is the only card I've ever seen Radiance on, but you don't have to understand Radiance to know what this card does. Just read the text. Destroy target enchantment and each other enchantment that shares a color with it. Next up we have Mana Tithe. Mana Tithe is just a white Force Spike. It's just a single white instant. It counters a target spell unless they pay 1. With how much pressure our deck is applying and the way the meta is, Mana Tithe is probably the best card in the sideboard, I think. It can interact with Burn, things like Bogles, and most importantly, Tron. If they're trying to fog you, all you have to do is wait until 1 turn that they tap out all the way. And since we're applying so much pressure, they need to be casting spells and doing things other than just fogging you every turn most of the time to find like those fog spells and flicker effects. Anyway, Mana Tithe is just a great spell that can go in pretty much any matchup if you have cards that you need to take out. Next we have 2 Orym's Cure. Orym's Cure is a colorless and a white instant spell. It has the ability that if you control a plains, you can tap an untapped creature instead of paying the cost, and it says prevent the next 4 damage that would be dealt to target creature or player this turn. So this is a free way that we can trigger Hero of the Pride. It's great that it works in combat. This is great against aggro and burn decks, which I do find to be hard matchups, and you really can't go wrong with a free way to trigger your Hero of the Pride. Finally, we have 2 more copies of Hermosian Rally. Electrickery is so prevalent that you do need 4 copies of this spell to try to contend. You don't want to always be leaving up money for Hallow, and you won't always have those veteran armorers. Additionally, this does come in a fair bit of the time just because it does make the deck more aggressive. So if none of the other cards in the sideboard are a silver bullet, this is just a very solid card that you can put in. Anyway, one final note before we get into the matches. I am trying to make my videos go faster since I don't want there to be any gaps where nothing is happening. This does mean that there's not going to be as much time to read the cards or anything. I trust that if you don't know what is happening, you can always pause the video and just resume it after you look up a card. Anyway, let's get into game 1. Game 1, our opponent is Dragon 7K. We lost the die roll. Our opening hand has 3 lands, 2 Elite Vanguards, a Core Skyfisher, and a Cartouche of Solidarity. So turn 1, we are going to be able to play an Elite Vanguard, and then turn 2, we can play Cartouche, a second Elite Vanguard, and then turn 3, replay the Cartouche by bouncing it with Core Skyfisher. So we're going to curve out perfectly for the first 3 turns, and then hopefully we can draw some action here. Our opponent plays a Power Plant, so we're facing Tron. Tron is a pretty good matchup actually, since we go pretty quick, and in the sideboard we do have Mana Tithe. We draw a Mutagenic Growth and play our Elite Vanguard. They lay down a Snow-Covered Island, followed up with Prophetic Prism, and pass it back to us. We draw a Cavalry Drillmaster. We put Cartouche of Solidarity on Elite Vanguard, throw down our other Elite Vanguard, and get in for 3. They play Tranquil Cove and pass the turn. We draw another Core Skyfisher, so we are going to play that, bounce our Cartouche. For a moment here, I think that they're going to condescend us, but they do play Impulse. Our Cartouche goes through, and we hit for 5. Their turn, they play a Cave of Temptation, evoke a Muldrifter, and they let it die, so no Ephemerate in their hand, or they're saving their mana for something on our turn. We draw another Cartouche of Solidarity, play that right away, throw down a Cavalry Drillmaster, pump up a 1/1 to spread out our damage, and swing for lethal. No plays for them, so we take game 1. Sideboarding against Tron, we definitely want these mana leaks. If we have a slower start, there could be a turn where Mana Tithe creates an opening for us to be able to have a combat phase. With all the pressure that we're applying, I think that they're going to be strapped for mana. We also want these Ramosian rallies. These make our deck more aggressive, and it's possible that they're going to have Electrickery. We take out the Porcelain Legionnaires and 3 of the Cavalry Drill Masters just to bring our curve down and make sure that we're still very, very aggressive. Game 2, they are of course going first. We have 2 lands, 3 1-drops, a Mutagenic, and a Veteran Armorer. The Veteran Armorer is really good since it will prevent any Electrickeries from just wiping our field, and we will be able to curve out pretty nicely. Tranquil Cove is their first play, and we draw a Plains. We throw down our War Falcon, pass to them. They throw down a Cave of Temptation and a Prophetic Prism. On our turn, we draw another Veteran Armorer, so that is a slower draw. But we throw down our other 2 2/1s and get in for 2. With our War Falcon, we are able to attack because Elite Vanguard is a soldier. They play a Power Plant, and turn comes back to us. Draw a Savannah Lions, throw down our land, and swing for 6. We're going to test the waters with a Veteran Armorer, and they respond with a Forbidden Alchemy. So the window for them to play Electrickery has passed, unless they have 2 removal spells. And we lay down our Savannah Lions and pass the turn to them. They play another Cave of Temptation, so still only 1 Tron land. Here's an Evoked Muldrifter, and they do have the Ephemerate this time, so they are going to draw an additional 2 cards, and then another 2 on the next turn if they live that long. We draw a Ramosian Rally. So this is going to be a lot of damage. We can play our Veteran Armorer, swing for 10 with all of our guys. They do not block, so I am able to pump up the team. That's an extra 5 damage. That's 15 even without this Mutagenic growth. And they die on turn 4. So we're 1-0, and I feel like you can see why I say Tron is a good matchup. We didn't draw any of our Mana Tithes, but we do put such a fast clock on them that a lot of the times we just steal the game. Match 2 is against Alek. We do win the die roll. Our hand is a single Plains, 2 1-drops, a Defiant Strike, and some things that we will need to draw a second land to play. There is the Hero of the Pride. We are going to risk it. This does apply decent pressure, and if we draw a second or third land, we are off to the races. This Defiant Strike is also going to be able to get us into another land if we don't draw it next turn. We play an Elite Vanguard. We draw a Ramosian Rally for turn, so we're going to play this Defiant Strike and hope to draw a second land off of it. We draw another Elite Vanguard, so we are going to be able to continue playing at least 1 spell a turn, potentially 2 with Ramosian Rally, and we do get in for 3 since our creature has been pumped up. They play a Swamp and pass it back to us. For our draw, we do find our second Plains. Before we play it, we're going to get in for 2. Then we play our War Falcon and follow it up with another Elite Vanguard. They do have the Echoing Decay, so both of our Vanguards die. Ramosian Rally doesn't pump up our creatures enough to fight that. An Island and then a Preordained out of our opponent passes to us with 2 mana up. We draw another Ramosian Rally, so we play our Hero of the Pride. We don't have any pump spells, and I do believe that they have a kill spell in hand, so I'm going to save this Cavalry Drill Master. Since I don't have any pump spells, I do value the Drill Master more. We aren't able to attack with our War Falcon, so we pass to them. They play a Brainstorm, another land, and pass back to us. On our turn, we draw a Savannah Lions. It gives us an opportunity to play Core Skyfisher to replay one of our lands so that we can play our 1-drop. We are going to wait until second main phase because we do have them on a removal spell. So when we go to combat, they play Agony Warp to kill our Skyfisher and shrink our War Falcon's power. We respond with a Ramosian Rally to keep that core Skyfisher alive. They do play a Spell Pierce, which we can't pay for, so we're going to play the second Ramosian Rally to make sure our creature lives. We don't get in for any damage this turn, but we are able to play a Savannah Lion, and we have 6 power on the field now. They play a Gurmag Angler. Thankfully, 2 of our creatures have flying, so we are still going to be able to get in for at least 4 damage. We draw a Hero of the Pride and decide to play our Cavalry Drill Master. This resolves, so we are able to get in for 6 and bring them down to 9. Another Brainstorm out of our opponent. They find an Augur of Bolas, and it is a whiff off of Augur of Bolas. On our next turn, we draw a Core Skyfisher, so more evasive threats are great, and this sees a counterspell. It would have been really nice to replay this Cavalry Drill Master for lethal. There's another Gurmag Angler out of our opponent, so our ground creatures still are not going to be able to get through, but we draw a Mutagenic Growth, so this is going to be able to be used with our Hero of the Pride and kill them this turn. Against Blue-Black Delver, we're really excited about putting in these Remosian rallies since they may have Shrivel, and I'm really not liking these Porcelain Legionnaires, so those are what's going to come out. We have one more slot open, so we throw in a Mana Tithe. It's just a versatile card that really fits in against a lot of decks. Also, I know that when they're casting Garmog Angler, they usually try to use up every last bit of mana, and this is a way for us to interact with their counterspells. So game 2, we're going to be on the draw. Our opening hand does not have lands, so we're going to mulligan that. Our second hand is also pretty bad. It has a single land, 2 Defiant Strikes. It does have a 1-drop and a Cartouche, but it doesn't have a way to let this War Falcon attack, since I don't have a second land to play my soldier, and the Cartouche token is neither a soldier nor a knight. Land Island from them. We draw a Mutagenic, so that's not too exciting. Throw down our War Falcon and pass to them. Evolving Wilds from them, and back to us. We find a Cavalry Drillmaster. Thankfully they only have 1 land, so only Spell Pierce would stop us here. We're going to play Cartouche. I do believe this is a mistake, and I should have played Defiant Strike. They play an Augur of Bolas, and I apologize because in the replay I don't look at what the revealed card is. But on our turn, we finally do find a second land, which will let us play our Drillmaster to get in with our Vigilance token. We put it on the Vigilance token because it lets us attack with an additional power, and kind of forces them to block with this Augur of Bolas so that we can get in with like our Drillmaster and our token the next turn. No blocks out of them, so they're down to 14, and we pass the turn to them. They preordain and pass the turn to us, and we find a second Remosian rally. We play our Hero of the Pride, and that actually resolves, so we're going to be able to attack for pretty big here. Swing all out. They block our Cavalry Drillmaster, which is great because we're going to be able to play this Remosian rally, and since they blocked the 2-power creature, we're going to be able to get that off of the field. They play a Spell Pierce, and we don't have the mana to pay for it, so that's going to go away. But we do have a second Remosian rally, so we hit them for 6 and clear the path for the next turn. They play a Bajuka Bog and pass back to us. We just draw a land, but we are going to be able to play this Defiant Strike on our Hero of the Pride for a lot more damage. They play Obnixilus's Cruelty on our creature, but it's already going to pump our team, and we're going to respond with this Mutagenic Growth for a little bit of extra damage. This is way more than lethal, so we win the game. So game 3, we're facing Mezzle. We lose the die roll, and our opening hand is terrible. It does not have any lands, so we're going to mulligan that. Our 6-card hand has 1 land. It does have a couple of 1-drops that will be able to start swinging pretty quickly, and we have Remosian Rally and 2 Mutagenic Growths to back it up. If we can find a second land, we can play this Porcelain Legionnaire. We get rid of 1 of the Mutagenic Growths, since I do value these creatures pretty highly, and an extra Mutagenic is not going to be that helpful. Turn 1 Island Delver from our opponent. It's not snow covered or anything, so this is going to be mono blue or blue black. We draw a Cavalry Drillmaster and play our War Falcon, so really hoping for a second land. No flip from our opponent and a second land. They swing and I decide not to block. They do play a Ninja of the Deep Hours, so we really need to find a land and the race is on. Draw a Defiant Strike instead of our second land, so we lay down our Elite Vanguard and get in for 2. I'm going to let this Ninja of the Deep Hours hit me again. I'm hoping that they just won't be able to play all of the cards in their hand if I just race them fast enough. Probably a bad decision since I don't have a second land and my racing capabilities aren't that great right now. There's the Delver again out of our opponent, and we finally find our second land. We're going to play a Porcelain Legionnaire trying to be defensive. I would love to block their Ninja or prevent it from attacking with this creature. They do, however, have the Force Spike. If it wasn't apparent already, they are mono blue. We get in for 4 again, and we're not feeling great about this game. They have tons of cards in hand, and they are swinging for more than we do. Mystic Sanctuary brings back their Force Spike, and with us on 2 lands, that's going to be a problem when they draw it next turn. We throw down our Cavalry Drillmaster, and 2 Spell Stutter Sprites out of our opponent means that's getting countered, and we've lost that game. Against Mono Blue Delver, these gut shots are very appealing. They can take out a lot of their creatures, most importantly Spell Stutter Sprite. The less creatures they have, the less the chances are that they're going to be able to set up a Ninja, and we also want this Remosian Rally. We want to take out 3 Porcelain Legionnaires again. I really do feel like they are the worst card in the deck, so right now they're my go-to sideboard out slot. And finally, we put in 1 Remosian Rally. There are situations where they are forced to block, and this can really do a number on them. It also applies a lot of pressure. At this point, I am starting to figure out maybe the Porcelain Legionnaires should just be Remosian Rallies and a Plains. Game 2, we have 5 lands. This is not nearly aggressive enough, so we're going to take a mulligan. Our 6-card hand, we have 2 Plains, 2 1-drops, a Cartouche, a Defiant Strike, and this Veteran Armorer. We throw back this Defiant Strike since we basically have all of the pieces we need here to be pretty aggressive, and turn 1, we throw down a Savannah Lion. They play a Fairy Miscreant. We're going to play a Cartouche so that we can attack safely, followed up with an Elite Vanguard and get in for 3. No blocks from our opponent, and on their turn, they play an island and pass back to us. So we're just going to swing in and see if we can get a trade or something out of our opponent. Surprisingly, they don't do anything, so post-combat, we play a Veteran Armorer, and that does get Spell Stutter sprited, so that will be countered, and we'll pass it back to them. Island number 3 and a Fairy Miscreant, which will trigger and draw a card, is what they open with. They attack us with 2 of their fairies, no ninjas or anything, and they'll pass the turn back to us with 2 mana open. We continue being aggressive and attack all out. They block with a Fairy Miscreant. I do believe that's worth risking this mutagenic to preserve one of our creatures, and we'll still get them for 4. Post-combat, we try Elite Vanguard first as our bait spell. They take the bait and play Counterspell, and then we play a War Falcon. We see a Preordain and a Ponder out of them, and then pass back to us, again with 2 blue mana open. Elite Vanguard is our draw, and we're going to go to combat. They block our 2/1s, and they pump one of their guys with a mutagenic, so that will survive. Hit them for 4 down to 1, and post-combat play our Elite Vanguard. They hit it with a counterspell and then take the turn back. They immediately snap our Savannah Lion, so we're going to lose our best creature. And then for the final card in their hand, it is a Tragic Lesson, which is really terrible news. We draw a War Falcon. Before we play anything though, we're going to get in with our Warrior token. They have 3 cards in hand, and we need this Savannah Lion to resolve. This War Falcon is not going to be able to attack unless we draw a soldier on our next turn. So we play War Falcon as our bait spell. They play Spell Stutter Sprite. That does get countered, and that also is going to be able to block our Savannah Lions. But since the coast is clear, we do resolve that. They attack with their Spell Stutter Sprite, which is really bad news, and there it is. They play a Ninja of the Deep Hours. They play an Augur of Bolas though, so that is going to be a great blocker for them. They only have 1 open mana, so this is our opportunity to play a 1-drop. A Cartouche would be an amazing draw here. Fortunately, we draw a Plains, so we're not going to quite scoop yet, though it is pretty close to scoop time. They get in with their Ninja. We're going to let that attack since we really want to just close out the game here. I don't think that we're going to be able to win a card advantage fight. Our next turn, we draw a Cartouche. This is what we wanted the previous turn. This turn, we know they have a Spell Stutter Sprite, so we're going to sandbag this and try to win on another turn. At the start of their turn, they play a Snap, so our Savannah Lions is going back to our hand, and we know that they are going to be able to Spell Stutter Sprite that. They play a Ponder and get in for 3. They play a Ninja, so it will be 4 damage. They're drawing 2 cards, and they don't bother playing their Augur of Bolas to keep up Counterspell. Our turn, we draw a Core Skyfisher. This is not bad. We play the Savannah Lions as our bait spell before playing our land, so that later we're going to be able to play this Core Skyfisher and hope that they don't have a Force Spike. They don't, so we are able to play our creature, and hopefully that will stop the bleeding a little bit. Again, another snap out of our opponent means that they're going to get in with a big attack once again. Mystic Sanctuary means they're going to be able to find their counterspell. They replay Augur of Bolas to immediately get that off of the top, and we're effectively locked out of the game. We're taking 5 here. 1 more Preordain out of them. We look at the card on top of our library and just scoop it up. We were very close. So we're 2-1. Match 4, we have a hand that does not do anything until turn 2. And then the only creature is Hero of the Pride. I don't think that that's going to be able to kill anybody. So we mulligan. Our 6-card hand has a single land, 4 2-drops, but it does have an Elite Vanguard and a Cartouche. We're going to keep this. It could get there. And we're going to put this Porcelain Legionnaire back into our deck. We win the die roll. Turn 1, we throw down our Elite Vanguard and pass the turn. Our opponent plays a green-white land. That can only really mean one thing, and that's Bogles. And that's not the best matchup, for sure. We don't find our second land, but we do find a War Falcon. We put our Cartouche of Solidarity down so that we can get in for a little bit more damage early on and hit them down to 18. They play a Slippery Boggle, put down a Crumbling Vestige for a green mana. use that green for a Raincore, and then pass turn with a hexproof 3/1 Trampler. Fortunately, that does not affect our ability to attack this turn. We draw a Mutagenic Growth, so that might be a little bit useful later, but we get in for 4, put them down to 14, and pass it to them. Glade Cover Scout is our opponent's only play, no attacks out of them, so we will still be able to attack on our next turn. We draw a Hero of the Pride. That does nothing for our hand, so we're just going to go to combat, swing for 6. They block our 1/1 with their 1/1. We do 5 damage, put them down to 9, pass to them. Just another creature out of our opponent, and then an attack for 3. So we're really fortunate that they have a really slow hand as well. We finally find our second land, and that is perfect. We play our Cavalry Drill Master, pump up our War Falcon, so we're swinging for 7. They're only at 9, and they don't block, so we're able to Mutagenic and take game 1. Against Bogles, for sure, we want Leave No Trace. That's what it is here for. We bring in Mana Tithe. This is one of the only spells that we can still interact with their deck, and we do have a few things we want to take out. We take out the Veteran Armorers and Ramosian Rally. I don't think that they're going to be playing Electrickery. I know that Bogles can get to red mana, but I think our other ways of interacting with their deck are going to be more impactful. Game 2, our opening hand is pretty good. We have a turn 1 War Falcon, and then turn 2 we have a choice of either Core Skyfisher or Hero of the Pride. Additionally, it does have a pump spell in Defiant Strike, so that if we do play our Hero of the Pride, we're going to be able to pump our guys. And this Mana Tithe, I feel like, is going to come in handy. So we, of course, keep this. They play a Forest and a Utopia Sprawl, so that looks like their hand could be pretty good, unfortunately. Just play our 1-drop and pass. Our draw was Mutagenic Growth, so that will prove useful when we go for our Hero of the Pride turn. They play a tap land and pass it to us. This means that they don't have any creatures unless it's one of their aura fetching creatures. So we're going to go Pedal to the Metal here and play our Hero of the Pride. Get in for 2, pass it to them. Another tap land brings them back to 20 life. And it looks like they don't even have a 3-cost creature. If you'll notice, they did mulligan pretty heavily. They're only on 3 cards, and they've had lands and ramp enchantments every turn of the game, unfortunately for them. We use Core Skyfisher to return a Plains. We can use one of these mana leaks to slow them down. I think once they play a creature, they are going to have a lot of enchantments they want to put on it, and we're going to be able to get at least one of them. Their only play is a Forest, though, and when the turn comes back to us, we find another Defiant Strike. So these Defiant Strikes are basically +4 damage and draw a card, so that seems pretty appealing. We're going to go for 1, find a Cavalry Drill Master, and we go for our second Defiant Strike and draw a Cartouche. So we were hoping to find a land, but we attack for 14, just 2 shy of lethal. I don't feel a whole lot of pressure to even act on anything, so we're just going to let this slide. And they do actually play a Gut Shot. This we can respond to with our Mutagenic to save our creature and deal them 16 damage, so we take the match. We're 3-1 now, and we're going into match 5. Match 5 is against Saralonga. Our opening hand has 2 1-drops, plenty of lands, and a couple of 2-drops in Porcelain Legionnaire and Core Skyfisher. Our opponent goes first and plays a Llanowar Elves. This is one of the scary hard matchups, so we're going to see how we do here. We start off with a War Falcon, so we can start attacking evasively. Their turn 2, they play an Essence Warden, so it's going to be pretty hard to kill them, and followed up with a Priest of Titania. Their Essence Warden gains them a life, they're up to 21. Core Skyfisher doesn't really have anything to bounce yet, and Cartouche gains them a life. So I'm going to go for this Porcelain Legionnaire. It does have 3 power, which is nice. And maybe it will be able to prevent a few damage and buy us a little bit more time. Their turn, they play an Island and go for a Lead the Stampede. They go from 2 cards to 5, so that got them 3 cards. It allows them to play this Curian Ranger. Their Priest of Titania taps for 4. They untap the Priest with Curian Ranger, use the 4 for Lissalana Huntmaster, tap their Priest of Titania again to play a Timberwatch Elf, and I scoop it up. Against Elves, we want our Gut Shots again. Being able to take out an early Priest of Titania, Well-Wisher, or Essence Warden can really help us close out the game before they can go crazy and go so wide that we can't keep up. We want these Veteran Armorers out of our deck, since again, we don't put them on Electrickery. And then finally, we bring in 2 Ramosian Rallies. This is just to make sure we go as fast as possible. Game 2, we have a bunch of cats in our opening hand. We have Savannah Lions, and Hero of the Pride, and a Mutagenic Growth to follow it all up, hopefully to do a lot of damage a little bit later. They play an Essence Warden. Fortunately, we draw this Gut Shot. We're going to use that immediately. Maybe that slows them down, but at least it's going to speed us up in that they're not going to be gaining all of that life. Play our creature, get in for 2, they're at 18, and pass the turn. Well-Wisher out of our opponent, so that's going to be what we're racing against. Our turn, we draw a Cartouche, so that's going to increase our creature count and give us an Anthem effect for this turn. Play Hero of the Pride and the Cartouche. We're able to get in for 7, bring them down to 11. On their turn, they play a Kyrian Ranger, tap their Well-Wisher, untap it with Kyrian Ranger, replay their land, play Priest of Titania, and gain another 3, so they're up to 16. Our turn, we draw a Core Skyfisher. That'll be great for returning our Cartouche and getting another Anthem effect. We swing for 12 with the potential to Mutagenic for another 6, so a possible 18 damage here. No blocks, so we do go for it. I know that they're going to be able to untap Well-Wisher, but this slows them down the most, and I don't really think it's getting much better than this. It would do an additional 2 damage next turn, but I think we need to apply as much pressure as possible right now. Every time we make them tap their Well-Wisher for life, that's an additional land off of the battlefield, so it is a limited amount of times that they can tap that and untap that. So they are down to 1. However, on their turn, they play another Well-Wisher, followed up with a Timberwatch Elf and a Finhorn Elves. So they are going to be able to tap their Well-Wisher, gain 6, untap it with Kyrian Ranger, and pass the turn. Core Skyfisher means another Cartouche and Hero of the Pride trigger. So we are attacking for 17 here. So they're going to need to activate their Well-Wisher twice to survive. No blocks, but there are the 2 activations. So they're going to go down to 2. On their turn, they go pretty wide with a bunch of elves, have 2 Well-Wishers, play a Viridian Longbow. So this is pretty over. We're going to attack all out. There's a block, so we're just going to scoop the game. So 3 and 2 isn't bad. I definitely found out some changes that I wanted to make. I think that the plan is solid with some sideboard tuning and dropping the number of 2 drops. I think that we could go even faster and more consistent with this deck. It's lots and lots of fun. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe, since it helps boost my visibility, and if I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will be able to monetize. Ring the bell to get notifications when I post a video, and see you next time.